Alan Johnson with the AJ team here at Keller Williams Realty. Our ongoing series, should you think about selling your property or are you thinking about renting it and turning it into investment property? So the question that we're going to tackle today are, what are your long-term plans? What are your long-term plans? That should play into whether you think about selling your property or turning it into a rental. So the first thing is, are you moving or are you moving out of the area? Very, very, very big difference. If you're moving in the area, it's much easier for you to manage an investment property when you're close. Rule of thumb is that you should be living within, I think, about 25 miles of any property. Really, you should be living closer to that, closer to about 10 miles to any property that you're going to turn into an investment property. Why? Because when issues pop up, the last thing you need, first of all, you got to deal with the issue. Second, you got to battle traffic getting through there if you live anywhere in the DMV or DC, Maryland, or Virginia. So you want to make sure that you live close to the property. If you're moving out of the area, say you're moving from, you live here and you're moving to California, it's probably not a smart thing to do unless you're planning on moving back into the area and moving into that particular house to keep it as a long-term rental property. It just doesn't make sense. I would rather, it's probably smarter for you to invest where you're going to be than where you're moving from. So that's the first thing you need to think about. The second thing you need to think about, and we've had a couple of people who've inquired with, who've talked to us over the past couple weeks about turning a property that is upside down into an investment property. I think that is the worst thing that you can do. The reason why I think it's the worst thing you can do is because you're actually kicking the bucket down the road. You're going to have to deal with that equity sooner rather than later. It's much easier for you to get out of a property, say you have to short sale the property, when you are an owner occupant than when you are turning it into, when it is an investment property. So when you're an owner occupant, the banks look at your circumstances much differently than when you've turned a property into an investment property. So I think my rule of thumb is if you're flipped upside down in a property and you're thinking about selling it or renting it, unless you're planning on keeping the property until you completely pay the property off, you need to be thinking about selling the property, because all you're doing is kicking the bucket down the road. You're going to have to deal with it sooner or later. As my grandfather used to say, you're going to pay the piper eventually. You might as well pay him now. The last thing you want to think about are your long-term plans. Is this property going to be a property you're going to keep for 5 years? Is this going to be a property you're going to keep for 10 years? Is this going to be a property you're planning on paying off? Those things should play into whether you're going to sell the property or whether you're going to turn it into a rental property. We can talk a little bit more about that because every situation is a little bit different, but you have the dream. We have the address. Alan Johnson with the AJ team here. Sell My Home Nova is our website. You guys can always call me with any questions. I have over 10 years of experience when it comes to being a landlord and owning rental properties. Believe me, you can learn from my pain.